There's a growing group of young people today who look at the idea of a traditional job and ask themselves, why should I spend my life working for someone else? Not out of arrogance, not because they dislike effort, but because something deep inside them tells them that the old system wasn't designed for the way their mind works. Psychology actually backs this up. A well-known study by Decci and Ryan, published in the Journal of Vocational Behavior, explains that some individuals have what's called high autonomy orientation, a natural drive to control their own time, decisions, and goals. These people feel mentally stronger, more creative, and more alive when they're choosing their path instead of following strict rules set by someone above them. For them, working under a boss doesn't feel like stability. It feels like losing a part of themselves. This isn't a personality flaw, it's a psychological need. Another important concept comes from Julian Rotter's locus of control theory. People who prefer independence tend to have a strong internal locus of control, meaning they truly believe that their future depends on their personal actions. So when they enter a workplace where everything is predetermined, schedules, tasks, even when to take a break, it creates a sort of silent tension. It's like their mind is saying, how am I supposed to grow if I'm not the one steering my own life? A Stanford study on creativity and performance found that individuals with high creative thinking abilities perform significantly worse when they're closely monitored or micromanaged. Their productivity drops, not because they lack discipline, but because their brain literally works better when there's freedom to explore, experiment, and solve problems on their own terms. And it goes deeper than behavior. It shows up in the brain. Research published in the Personality Neuroscience Journal found that people with entrepreneurial tendencies show higher dopamine activity when dealing with challenges they choose themselves, rather than tasks imposed on them. In simple words, their brain rewards them more for self-directed work. That's why a normal job with fixed instructions feels emotionally flat, while building something personal, even if it's harder, feels exciting. Then there's the idea of psychological reactance, introduced by Jack Brem. Reactance is that internal pushback you feel when someone tries to restrict your freedom. Young people with strong independent streaks feel this intensely. Even small things like being told exactly how to do a task or being required to attend meetings that add no value can spark frustration. It's not rebellion, it's the mind defending its freedom. And here's the part people often misunderstand. Those who dislike working for others are not against hard work. A 2021 report from the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor showed that individuals who choose independent paths often work longer hours and show higher commitment than traditional employees. They stay up late building projects, learning skills, and improving what they love, not because someone told them to, but because the work feels meaningful. To them, effort is not the enemy, but losing control is. This mindset is shaping a new kind of ambition. Young people today want careers where they can express themselves, take ownership, and feel that what they're doing actually matters. They want to use their ideas, not bury them. They want to create their own schedule, not live by someone else's clock. They want progress, but they want it on their terms. And psychology is clear. For certain minds, independence isn't a luxury. It's part of their psychological design. But the story doesn't end with personality traits or brain chemistry. There's another layer, the changing meaning of work. Young people today grew up watching countless stories of people building something from nothing. Creators, freelancers, coders, small business owners, and everyday individuals who turned their passion into a source of income. This visibility reshaped the idea of what a career even is. A study from the Pew Research Center found that younger workers value flexibility and purpose far more than previous generations. This doesn't mean they reject responsibility. It means they want their effort to feel connected to something real, something that reflects who they are and who they want to become. For many of them, working for someone else feels like pressing pause on their personal identity. It's not that the job is bad, it's that the structure doesn't align with how they want to live. Another reason some people refuse to work for others is tied to self-determination theory, a framework also developed by Deci and Ryan. According to this theory, humans have three core psychological needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Traditional jobs often satisfy competence and relatedness, but autonomy is usually the missing piece. Without autonomy, motivation slowly collapses. This is why so many young people feel drained, not by the tasks themselves, but by the lack of control over how, when, or why those tasks are done. A 2019 Harvard Business Review survey reported that employees with high autonomy report 33% higher job satisfaction, 27% lower stress, and improved long-term mental health. For people who are naturally independence-driven, a lack of autonomy feels like a direct threat to their psychological stability. But here's the twist. Independence isn't always easy. People who refuse to work for others often face judgment, confusion, and pressure to follow the safe path. Yet, research shows they're not avoiding work, they're choosing a different kind of challenge. A study in the Journal of Business Venturing found that individuals with strong independence tendencies handle risk differently. They don't fear uncertainty the same way others do. They see it as a space of possibility. Their mindset is, I'd rather take a risk on myself than be controlled by someone else. And this perspective makes sense. Many young creators, entrepreneurs, and freelancers would rather struggle building their own path than feel comfortable in a system that doesn't match their values. They prefer instability with freedom over stability without meaning. There's also a psychological link between independence and identity formation. The transition from teenage years to adulthood is a period where people try to answer two major questions: who am I, and what kind of life do I want? Working for someone else sometimes feels like delaying those answers. It feels like living inside someone else's story instead of writing your own. And for some minds, that's unbearable. But independence isn't just a mindset, it's a skill. People who choose not to work for others often end up developing strong traits like self-discipline, resourcefulness, resilience, creative problem-solving, long-term vision. Because when you're responsible for your own success, you either grow or you give up. And most of them choose to grow. Interestingly, a 2022 study from the University of London showed that independent workers, freelancers, creators, and self-employed individuals score higher in psychological resilience compared to traditional employees. Their constant adaptation to challenges builds a strong mental foundation that helps them handle life with more confidence. But still, choosing independence isn't the perfect path for everyone. Some people thrive in structure. Some find comfort in stability. Some love teamwork, routine, and clear guidance. And that's perfectly okay. The point isn't that one path is better. The point is that minds are different. And some minds are simply not built for environments where control is external. So when a young person refuses to work for others, it's not rebellion. It's not entitlement. It's not being unrealistic. It's a psychological alignment, a way of choosing a life that matches the way their brain, emotions, and identity naturally function. For them, independence isn't the risky choice. It's the authentic one. In the end, the people who refuse to work for others aren't running away from responsibility. They're running towards authenticity. They're choosing a life where their ideas matter, where their time has value, and where their identity isn't shaped by someone else's expectations. Psychology shows us that this mindset isn't a phase or a trend. It's a real expression of how certain minds are wired. Some individuals simply think clearer, create better, and live more fully when they're steering their own path. Independence comes with pressure, risk, and uncertainty, but it also comes with meaning. And for many young people today, meaning is worth more than a salary, a title, or a comfortable routine. They're not rejecting work. They're redefining it. And maybe that's the real lesson here. A successful life isn't about fitting into the system. It's about building a system that fits you.